Is long COVID different from COVID-19? And this is a question I get asked a lot. So I wanted to take some time today to talk about it a little bit more and answer those questions in more detail. Starting with COVID-19, or acute COVID, as we frequently refer to it, really I just want to start by saying that this is not the mild, just a cold type illness that you are unfortunately being told. COVID-19, acute COVID, is a very severe illness that, although the symptoms may be mild when you have it, is causing considerable vascular and other damage in the body. If you are interested in immune functioning, just to explain a little bit more why that happens, a virus that is capable of damaging the immune system quite considerably, that is the response that you will get. If you have had COVID once and then you have it again, and the second time your symptoms are very mild, that's because the first time it destroyed your immune system so much that it cannot really respond. And so you might feel fine, but the damage that is being done inside your body is pervasive and quite terrifying. Symptoms of acute COVID can vary quite dramatically, and it's a sneaky virus, and we definitely saw in the fall as the surge was starting again. It looked like a chest infection, it looked like norovirus, it looked like pink eye. So if you had any of those and you thought it wasn't COVID, sorry, it probably was. But the most commonly talked about are, of course, fever, cough that these days has become a lingering cough because, again, surprise, immune system was destroyed last time. Another two that are also very frequently talked about are the loss of taste and smell and body aches. Whereas long COVID presents with a wide range of symptoms and typically a little bit different than those associated with acute COVID. And to give you some examples about that, when I was first experiencing long COVID, I had some strange stabbing pains in my rib, which I now know to be costochondritis, tingling sensations in my body, numbness, which were probably neuropathy, strange allergic reactions both inside my body and on my skin, itching, hives, that kind of thing. And it is really crucial to distinguish between acute COVID and long COVID, because although they are caused by the same spike protein, they are two quite different illnesses and need to be treated differently. If we think we have long COVID, when in fact it is still just lingering effects of the acute infection, you can wind up with the wrong treatment and the wrong supports, and that means you would be less likely to recover. Similarly, identifying long COVID correctly allows people to A, reduce the amount of gaslighting they go through, and B, get to effective treatments sooner rather than later. So then what are the common symptoms of long COVID? Well, long COVID, the last time we checked, had 211 possible symptoms. So really, that leaves a lot of scope for my illness and your illness being completely different, and yet both of us having long COVID. But some things that are very commonly experienced and also talked about: fatigue. Pervasive fatigue is a very common symptom. Just to explain a little bit about that, because it is not tiredness. If somebody has fatigue and somebody else says, "Oh yeah, I'm really tired from work too," that's not what they're talking about. Fatigue is an extensive heaviness in your body. Some people will say it's like, your limbs have become lead. It also might feel like somebody has changed the math on gravity, and so you are suddenly much heavier and pulled closer to the ground than you were previously. It can feel like carrying heavy weights around. It's there 24/7. It's not because you work too much and then at 6:30 you have some tiredness. It's there at 6 in the morning when you hopefully have slept all night but still don't feel any different than the day before. Another very common symptom is inability to exercise, which is sometimes called exercise intolerance, sometimes called post-exertion malaise. And again, what this means, really heartbreaking because long COVID is so common in athletes. You try to do your sport or your activity and you are able to do it in the moment, but 2 or 3 or 4 days later, you then get some debilitating symptoms. And those symptoms could be seemingly like cold or flu, sore throat. It doesn't have to be muscle soreness. It doesn't have to be fatigue. And so to begin with, it can be quite confusing. We don't even necessarily connect the dots between that workout we tried to do on Monday and then the fact that we have a scratchy cough and throat on Thursday. But we do know now from extensive research and some quite important papers published recently that there is something happening with the mitochondria and with the oxygen exchange in our muscles that essentially makes it that our oxygen saturation goes down rather than up while we exercise. As a result, we get extensive tissue damage, which then causes these symptoms 2 or 3 days later. And then the other big one that's talked about, that fabulous word brain fog, or what I would much rather refer to as cognitive impairment or brain damage. You might find that you have difficulty writing emails, that they're suddenly not quite so eloquent, or that getting the words out and forming sentences is more difficult. You can't remember things, particularly the names of things, the names of people, or you put something and you don't remember where you put it, perhaps in a strange place. This is also more likely to be recognized by other people first than by us, because there is something about how cognitive impairment works that there's a little bit of a lag in terms of our appreciation that it's happening. And the one I hear most commonly is I do a lot of presentations for people working in HR on how to support people with long COVID, disability accommodations, etc. Very frequently they'll say to me, oh gosh, so that person who had their appraisal and they suddenly were performing at a much lower level and it didn't really make any sense to us at all. I'm wondering now whether they had long COVID. So if you have found that you were evaluated recently, whether it was at work or you were taking some exams for school and you just tanked something that you would typically do very well, possibly you have cognitive impairment, which could be a sign that you have long COVID. One of the difficulties that most people with long COVID go through, because there are so many different and varied symptoms, you might go to your GP or primary care physician and they will then refer you to umpteen specialists who then look at one little segment of your symptoms and potentially give you a diagnosis relating to that, but they're not connecting the dots holistically and realizing that all of these things are related and that you more than likely have long COVID. So for example, it is very common when people have neuropathy to see a neurologist and have that be diagnosed, but to randomly have neuropathy out of nowhere is sort of meaningless. And knowing that you have long COVID, which probably means you might also have POTS or MCAS or some other things, is very important in terms of your treatment plan. And the most crucial thing about getting a long COVID diagnosis is that you then get to join this fantastic cohort of about 200 million of us who can then be there for you and support you on this journey that none of us chose, but all of us understand and have an awful lot more information about than the medical community. And the sooner that that happens and you realize that this wealth of knowledge is there and available to you, although sadly somewhat hidden, the sooner you can then start to make your recovery. So then you might be thinking, how do I recover from long COVID? This one is a tricky one. It definitely is possible. And I know because I have done it, and I have also helped countless other people to do the same, but it is not an easy and straightforward process. It definitely requires commitment. If you are sitting there thinking that somebody is going to come along and bring you a magic treatment, at this stage, and probably not for another 5 years, that isn't going to happen. So those of us who have been able to make a recovery have been very active participants in that process. And that's a double-edged sword, because the first thing that you need to do more than anything else is rest, and really radical rest. That doesn't just mean lying on the couch watching TV, because TV is also quite stimulating. It really means stopping your exercise, stopping work, and taking time to focus on your body and your healing. And yes, I did say that, stopping all forms of exercise. And if you are an athlete, you will be thinking, oh, but can't I just? And you'll probably also be thinking, okay, fine, so everyone else has had to stop, but I'm going to be the one who is the exception that proves the rule. And I think, well, maybe I'll stop running, but perhaps I can still do some strength work or some this or some that. Sadly, I'm here to tell you that you can't. Millions of people before you have had the exact same thought process. We've all tried to continue exercising, and we've all gotten significantly worse and wished that we hadn't done it. It's a tough process. Most of us were athletes for a reason, and we're now going to have to find a different way of managing those things in our body, which I will come on to in a moment. But really and truly, the sooner you can stop, the sooner you will likely recover and could potentially get back to it again. Medication may play a role in your recovery. Unfortunately, we don't have any definitive treatments yet, in the sense that we have FDA approved things that have gone through a randomized controlled trial, but there are lots of things that are helping with symptom management and with certain types of diagnoses that we are finding to be beneficial. And I did recently do a video talking a little bit about some of those. I'm going to link that up here so you can take a look. You are more than likely going to want to research your socks off to find an answer to your long COVID recovery. On the one hand, I do encourage you to do that, because just lying there waiting for someone to come and rescue you, they're not coming, unfortunately. It's going to be a subtle, delicate dance to find that balance, because the more that we research and the more that we obsess and the more that we go down that rabbit hole, the more that we waste our energy and push ourselves into shutdown. That is a delicate balance, and it's one that all of us have had to navigate. If you would like some support with that, there are various different things that I offer that can help people with that process. Most importantly, above everything else, understanding that the vagus nerve is heavily implicated in this process. The vagus nerve is responsible for moderating immune function and reducing inflammation in the body, and we definitely know that it has been damaged by the spike protein and possibly by other things that you have experienced in your life previously. Autonomic nervous system work is going to be a huge part of your long COVID recovery journey, especially if you're an athlete and have had to stop your sport. This will become the way in which you learn to manage your emotions and deal with the sensations in your body that previously you might have managed through running or tennis or cycling or whatever it was. I have numerous videos talking about that process of how to learn, befriend, and calm your nervous system. And there is a ton of information here and in the resources that I list below to help you with that process. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch today. If you would like to learn more about all of this, I highly encourage that you check out more of the videos on my channel. And I know from experience, having long COVID and looking at somebody's YouTube channel, where on earth do I start? Which of these videos with their sensational attention-grabbing thumbnails is the one that I need to watch today? So I've put together a playlist that seamlessly follows what we've talked about here. You can just click on that and those will link through for you. Don't do it all at once. I know, again, there's a temptation to sit and spend 4 hours watching YouTube, but that's the bit that's going to make you also crash. Watch 10 minutes at a time, pause it, come back, and you'll get a wealth of information from here.